This is Science for Cycle 3, Week 10. This week we'll be talking about the digestive system and the urinary system. It's going to be kind of a fun week with some messy experiments, so I think your class will enjoy it. So as usual, start by talking about the Bible verse at the top of your lesson plan, and then I am actually going to talk about the urinary system first for the purpose of this video because the digestive system experiment is a little bit messier, so I'm going to save that till the end. So the urinary system, you can show your diagram and let your kids color out their body parts, their kidneys and their bladder while you are discussing the urinary system. You can discuss how we have two kidneys, our blood flows through those kidneys, and the liquid waste and electrolytes, things like that that we don't need, will be filtered out at the kidneys, and then they will travel through our ureters, which are connected to our bladder, and that's where our liquid waste will be stored as urine until we are ready to go to the bathroom and get rid of it. So you can talk through that process with your class while they color their body parts, and then when you are ready, you can get out. Each class will have this model of the urinary tract. So we've got up here these bottles that have coffee filters in them are meant to represent the kidneys. So remind your class that the kidneys are filtering our liquid waste, so our blood is flowing through those kidneys all the time and the liquid waste is being filtered out. Then that liquid waste will run through the straws here, which are meant to represent the ureters, which are connected to our bladder, which is the balloon. Then at the bottom of the bladder, we've got a clothespin because we don't want urine to just freely be flowing out of our bladders all the time. That would be a mess. So the clothespin is meant to represent the sphincter that we have control once we're old enough of our bladders so that we don't actually urinate until we're ready to. So then when that bladder, when the balloon is filled up, you can take off the clothespin and let the water flow into the little cup, which I guess would represent the toilet. I think your class is going to enjoy this week. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do this. Hopefully these are sealed well enough. So you're going to take 2 tiny cups of water. They're really not very full at all, if you can see where they're filled to, maybe just about here. And you're going to pour one into each kidney, into each bottle here, and then let it flow through those straws and fill up the bladder. You can tell the bladder's kind of filling up. I'm not sure if you can see that on the video, but the bladder's filling up. We've got all the liquid waste has run down through those ureters and into the bladder. The bladder's pretty full now, so I am going to loosen this sphincter here, and our water is going to flow out into this cup. And ta-da! That is your model urinary tract. So that's the urinary system. One messy experiment done. I'm going to move this out of the way and get ready to talk about the digestive system. All right, so the digestive system is going to be the next system, and you can have your class again color in. They've got the liver and the stomach and then the large and small intestines, so they've got quite a bit to color while you're talking through the digestive system. You can have them kind of answer what they know about how food enters through our mouth, travels through our esophagus and into our stomach. You can review our memory work from the parts of the digestive system. Talk through how the stomach is doing a lot of work to break down our food. Even our mouths, our saliva starts to break down our food, and then as it travels into our esophagus, our stomach lets out or releases some acid that helps to break down that food, make it into kind of a soupy substance so that the food is broken down and ready to be absorbed. And then the movement of our stomach and our intestines helps to push that food down into our small intestines, where the majority of our nutrients are going to be absorbed into our body. So the membranes, the sides or walls of those small intestine cells are permeable, which means that our nutrients can exit out into our blood cells and be absorbed so that they can be used by our bodies. And then after our food moves through our small intestines, then it's going to move into the large intestines, which are shorter but are wider. And in our small intestines is where most of the water that our body needs is going to be absorbed into our body. So again, we've got kind of a permeable wall where our water can be taken out of that large intestines. And then of course the rest of the food that our body doesn't need to absorb and use as nutrients will go from our large intestine into the rectum and then out through the anus, which is when we are going to the bathroom. Again, I think your classes are going to enjoy this week, maybe a little too much. So you can talk through that process. We also have the liver, which you can talk through how the liver works to kind of filter blood, similarly to how the kidney does, but it also helps to metabolize a lot of the nutrients that our body absorbs. So the liver plays a lot of different functions, does a lot of different jobs that might be a little bit tricky to understand, but it does play some role in the digestive process. In releasing chemicals and making some proteins. And then you can also talk about the pancreas, which we talked about a couple weeks ago in the endocrine system. But not only does the pancreas have an endocrine function where it's releasing insulin, but it also has a function as an exocrine organ in the digestive system, where it is actually helping to release these enzymes that help to break down our food. So the pancreas kind of has two jobs, two different sides to it. And then you can also talk about the gallbladder, which helps to release bile into our small intestines, which also helps to break down our food that we eat. So that's another of the organs that you'll be coloring. So you've got a lot for your class to color, a lot of organs to talk about what they do. And then you will get to make a little model of the digestive system. So it's kind of a messy process. I'm going to start by putting on some gloves, and I will send gloves around for all of the tutors to use. So we are actually going to demonstrate the process of digestion here. So our first step is that we have this plastic bag that's going to represent the stomach. So our food is going to be some crackers and some banana. Now I have a nice mushed up banana that was actually frozen, so it's going to work really well. And then can you pass me those cups, Julia? And then after you add those, you can add a little bit of water, which is going to represent the saliva in our mouths that already starts to kind of break down that food. You can add a little bit of that, and you can add a little bit of orange juice. Orange juice is a little bit acidic, so it breaks things up. It's going to represent the acids in our stomach that are going to help to break down that food. So you've got that food in your bag, seal up that bag, and you're going to want to kind of mush this up until it becomes. It can have a few chunks, but you want it to be mostly kind of liquid, soupy. Doesn't take too long. And it makes this really nice, gross mixture in here. So we've got this kind of disgusting, soupy mixture now created with our banana, our crackers, our water, and our orange juice. That's a little bit chunky, but not super chunky. All right, so our next step is going to be, you will have a plastic cup with a hole in the bottom that you're going to use as a funnel, and then you'll have a leg of tights here, and your tights are going to represent your intestines. So this is where the nutrients are going to be filtered out and absorbed by our bodies to be used by our cells to do all the jobs that they need to do. So the next step, I'm going to have, can you help me with this? I'm going to have a helper hold on to this for me. Maybe I'll send along a few pairs of gloves. And then what I'm going to do is cut a small hole in the stomach here. And we're going to use this plastic cup as a funnel to get all of this gunky mixture into our tights, our intestines. And get it all out of the bag. So you can remind your class that your stomach just broke down that food into tiny little pieces so that it's ready to be absorbed. Whoopsie, that's okay. All right, and now we've got the intestines. Thank you, honey. Thank you. Now we've got the intestines, and this is the gross part. So your intestines remember, the walls of your intestines are permeable, so things can get through. So that's where our nutrients are going to be absorbed. So you can see our nutrients here coming out of the intestines. You're going to want to squeeze out all the nasty liquid stuff. This is what the gloves are for. Squeeze it all out through those tights. I think the boys in particular are really going to love this one. So make sure you get it all into the pan here that I'll send along. Squeeze it all out until you've got just kind of a solid chunk here at the bottom. So you can remind your class that your small intestines is narrower, but it's longer. It has a lot of surface area, which means there's a lot of walls where our nutrients can be absorbed into our bodies. And then you can remind them that the large intestine is where a lot of our liquid, a lot of our water is being absorbed into our bodies to be used. All right, we're going to call that good. So now I've just got kind of this goopy solid mass here at the end. And here comes another fun part. I'm going to move this out. I'm going to grab a paper bowl here. So now all I've got is this little chunk at the end of my tight leg. And I'm going to grab, so I have 2 plastic cups here. The first one has a hole cut into the bottom, and the second one doesn't have a hole. So I am going to cut my tight leg here. And I'm going to put all of this solid waste that we have after all the stuff that we don't need from the food that we eat. I'm going to push it out into the cup that has the hole in the bottom. All right, looks pretty gross. All right, so this is going to represent basically the rectum. And now I'm going to use my other cup that doesn't have a hole in the bottom, and I'm going to push the waste out into this bowl. Oops, it doesn't want to come up very well. Here we go. So you can see that waste is being pushed out into the bowl. And again, the bowl is representing the toilet. So this is representing how our bodies get rid of solid waste. Really gross. You see that coming out? Really gross, but super fun. All right, so I hope you're excited for week 10. It's going to be a little bit of a mess. Then you can review with your class some of the functions that we talked about. Have them maybe talk through the different parts of the urinary system and the digestive system as you show the pieces of your model, or talk through the parts of your experiment again.